You're live on the internet.
Okay,
You have
awesome.
16 million viewers.
Wow.
Don't do that.
Okay. Maybe. I was thinking to wait for maybe like 2 minutes, maybe more people show up. Thank you. Okay, maybe we can start it now. It's good. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here. I told Emily last night that I wanted to start my talk in some other way, but this morning I realized I have to change it. Well, when I realized that NetHope Summit has a conflict with Election Day, I got super mad because I wanted to stay in New York City and celebrate it with my husband and my friends. But then this has happened and then I couldn't go and I couldn't be in New York, and to be fair, they couldn't celebrate it neither. But this morning that I woke up and I wanted to put myself together and work on this talk, I realized that maybe this place is the best place that I could be today, because I get to meet people that they have been working every day on some job that is the most rewarding and most human thing in the world. And people who don't discriminate against any kind of groups and their race, gender, ethnicity. And I want to tell you, I'm very honored to be here because you are the one who prove every single day to me that love trumps hate. Thank you so much. Thank you. My name is Roya Pakzad. I am from Iran, but currently I live in New York City and I study human rights at Columbia University. I'm writing my thesis about the role of technology and the current refugee crisis. And today I'm going to talk about some of my findings with you. And my refugee friend, actually, Javad Ahmadi, he's going to assist me on that. My story starts from this photo. Last summer, I was in Greece, actually for my honeymoon, and I was hiking in this Amorgos island, a very little tiny Cycladic island in Greece, and then I took this photo, and then I looked at this beautiful Mediterranean Sea, and suddenly all the photos and images and news and headlines about death of refugees stormed in my head. And then I decided to document my thought in the form of little poem. That it says, deepest of blues, bluest of hearts, standing on the shore, longing for the east. It was almost impossible to believe that this beautiful Mediterranean sea is capable to swallow all those lives of little children and women and men and all those memories. It was very hard for me to believe. But for the rest of my trip, I went from Amorgos Island to Athens, and I met 2 refugees from Oinofita camp, which is about 60 kilometers in the north of Greece, north of Athens. This is the photo of Oinofita camp, which is currently the home for 755 refugees in Greece. And this is my photo with my refugee friend and 8 workers, and the gentleman that you see in the front, his name is Jawad. He's 17 years old. He's from Afghanistan, and he wants to be a computer engineer. So our friendship started from here, but it didn't end. We started having conversation on Facebook message, on communication applications such as Viber, because my background is in electrical engineering and he wanted to be a computer engineer. I sent him some files in the calculus and physics and programming language, and we started developing a mentorship, friendship relationship. And then during that, I asked him if he is willing to help me for this project that I'm doing for my thesis, and he said yes. So the rest of my talk is the collaboration that we had for my thesis, actually. So for this part of my talk, I try to answer this question that how do refugees use the internet, and follow up with the question that how can we work with refugees to improve the technological services available to them. My talk is divided in 5 sections. The first part is Jawad's interview, that I interviewed him through Skype, Facebook Messenger, and then we're gonna watch that shortly. The second part is a refugee survey that Jawad himself conducted in his refugee camp. The third part is about access to the internet and challenges that refugees they might face with the internet Wi-Fi in their camp. For the fourth part, I'm going to explore the usability of mobile phone applications that are available to refugees, and specifically, I'm going to assess the strength and weakness of some of those mobile phone applications and share my lessons learned. Last but not least, we're going to look ahead. We're going to look at some needs that they have not answered properly, and maybe technology has the potential to solve them. The interview that I had with Jawad about 2-3 weeks ago, I asked him some questions such as, do you have an access to the Wi-Fi? How many hours in a day you spend internet on your smartphone? What kind of application you use? Why do you use those applications? Or if you wanted to make some improvement, what would that be? So this part is my interview that you can listen today. Because he was in the camp, there might be some kind of noise, children. Salam Jawad. خوبی؟ شب بخیر. باشه برو یه جایی که خوب باشه.
Hi, how are you? I'm Jawad. I'm from Afghanistan. Now I'm in Greece as a refugee. So I'm 17 years old. I come to like this, like other refugees, the difficult ways, and happy to see you today. Yes, we have Wi-Fi, and also I want to say to you about the problem of Wi-Fi in here. Like here, one Wi-Fi is lots of, 755 refugees, and it's not enough for each refugees, and also they need, because of that, by themselves. But at least it's good. From myself, I pay internet €5 has 4 GB, but there is another company that 2 GB is €5 also. 6 euro is €6, 4 GB like this. Because here is free, I think, don't work than sometimes they expense the smartphone. Because of when I check survey from the refugee, they told me about some of them over the 4 hours, some of the between the 1 to 4 hours. But when they want to use a smartphone, they use the internet also. But I think over the 4 hours. Most of them Facebook, because everyone knows Facebook is so famous to everyone, and Facebook, YouTube, one application from the service to refugees is Voice of Immigration with Saidi Muhajir, and Viber that's calling to the family or friends in Afghanistan, Iran, or Syria. And this application is most of the most of the refugee use from Facebook. I mean the page in the Facebook, and not the application, because just one application just use it from Facebook. Or if they want to search another thing, they go to the Google. But the other you say what name? Sorry, I forget.
Refugee aid. Refugee aid.
Yeah, I didn't hear about from the refugees, because most of them just says Voice of Immigration or Facebook. This one. The youth generation like me, they want first time they don't have any enough internet for the learning English, because most of the application is online, and they want study classroom, but some of them, yes, they are interested to learning by themselves by to application. First time, here is no any television. Just get from your smartphone. Most of them get from Facebook by a page like BBC, VOA, like this. And if any news show it from BBC or another the VOA, most of the refugees believe it or rely it. But another page, another page, most of them know it's Browns page. I have the MasterCard, but I didn't. I didn't open it like another organization for refugees give it, and just sometimes every month they give the money by the card, MasterCard. You get it from the machine, just like this, not more. But no, about the smartphone, we don't support about the cash or online online transfer of money like this. We
You don't do that.
Yes.
So the money that comes from Afghanistan, can you put that on the MasterCard or you have to keep it as cash?
No. When the money come from Afghanistan, like my father sent me by the Western Union and or the another like Sarafi, but about the MasterCard. So if I do something for the application or for technology, at the first time I take the some or I do something for the different Ramos news and the correct news, because when I see the another the wrong news, this a bad effect for my future also because of that. One day when I want to come back to the camp by a bus, I was so tired and I sleep in the bus and I missed my station in Nufita, but and after that the bus went to so far or so away from my location, and after that when I was awake, I have seen it and first I didn't have any idea what to do, but find my smartphone and activate my data and I went to the Google Map and take a photo and send to to the manager of the camp that can you send me any transportation because here so far, and after that she sent me she come to a car and got me a camp.
Okay, great. As you notice, he mentioned that he conducted a survey and he interviewed people. For this part, we're going to go through the survey. So JiaBin interviewed 23 refugees, 9 women and 14 men. And these are some photos that he documented during the interview process. And this is the way that he sent the information to me. He sent it through Facebook, and we realized that about more than 75% of women and men, they have a smartphone and they use the internet on their smartphone. I will go back to the details about this survey, but first I want to kind of dig into the access to the internet and challenges that refugees might face with using a Wi-Fi. As you noticed, JiaBin mentioned that there is Wi-Fi, but I want to tell you about the problem of Wi-Fi. There are 755 refugees and Wi-Fi is not enough. So we all know that there is a wide internet connectivity in Greece, and NetHope itself, it has provided 35 refugee camps with the Wi-Fi internet, and on this map you see the little green camps are the one that NetHope supported. That's great. That's great that all this kind of refugee camps, they have access to internet Wi-Fi, but as JiaBin mentioned, that's not enough. So I was thinking, why is it like that? What kind of applications or what kind of stuff they watch or they use on the cell phone that Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi is not internet, and they end up with buying all those very expensive data packages. So for this part, we're going to see use of mobile application because I wanted to figure out what kind of application I actually use that is very data heavy. So we realized based on the survey that he conducted, more than 80% of men, they replied that they use YouTube on cell phone, and women 40%, more than 40%, they mentioned the YouTube, which is very data heavy. And some of the Wi-Fi network, they don't allow refugees to use the YouTube and do the online streaming or watch any videos on internet. And also the other popular application, as you see, Facebook, WhatsApp, Viber, Telegram, which are communication applications, and some of education. But what was very interesting to me is all the participants in the survey unanimously, they said that they're using this application called Saidi Muhajir, when I realized that it's not actually application, it's a web page and also Facebook page that it's not supported by any organization or any agency. It seems that it's run by Iranian and Afghan in Germany. And when you look at the content, it has everything from information about asylum seeking procedure in different countries to cultural tip to where they can find halal food and even music videos from Afghanistan. And so many of content that it has is very kind of like YouTube and online videos. So I realized that's why they just use all the internet and watching the videos. Also on the survey, they mentioned majority of them, they use Android, they don't use iPhone. So I went on the Google Play to find out how many refugee-specific applications are available on Google Play. I found about more than 200 one, but I did kind of a study on 100 of them. And specifically, I studied on 4 of them, like very dig into to find the lesson, to find the strength and weakness of them. But for 100 of them, I realized that 57% of all these great applications that are designed for the refugees, they have even less than 500 downloads. And of this 57, 20% of them, they get less than 50 downloads. And you can say, like, for the Facebook, the number is in billion, and YouTube is billion and stuff. And then I wanted to see that what kind of services these applications they provide. Most of them, they're used for language apps and available services for the refugees, news that is related to asylum seeking, and also some of the applications are used for finding jobs. So for this part of my talk, I picked 4 applications that I think it's very good to go and then look at their strength and weakness and what we can learn from these applications. The first one is Ankommen, if my German is not good, but it means arrival in German. And this application is designed by the Federal Office for Migration and Refugees, the Federal Employment Agency, and the Goethe Institute, which is a language institute. The application got number of downloads between 100,000 to 500,000, and it's one of the most popular applications on the Google Play for the refugees. It's designed for many things, including German language instruction, cultural practices and values, information on asylum procedures, and some education information. When I tried to understand why this application became so popular, I think 2 main points is very good to discuss. The first one is the cross-actor partnership and the fact that government agencies are actually involved to design this application and put the information on that. Because when the government agencies are involved, at least the refugees, they can trust the news that is there. It gives a little bit like legitimacy to that app that not it's from some organization and we don't know about what kind of news is there and stuff. It's actually something maybe that has been checked by the government agencies. And also the other thing that I notice is multiple function in one app, because we all know that refugees are not going to download 10 applications for 10 different services. So if we want to design something, it's better to bundle all the services together and give it as a one application for them. The second application that I looked at, it's called Orbatana, which in Arabic it means loneliness. This application is designed by Mojahed Akil. He is a Syrian computer scientist that currently he lives in Turkey. He himself is a refugee. This one is very popular, not on the Google Play that it got 10,000 to 50,000 downloads, but also on the Facebook page it got more than 90,000 users. The application is for job listing, housing, local businesses and services, and also users, they can ask for doctors and drivers, and also there are so many news about asylum seeking procedures. When I think about this application, I think this is very important that this app is designed by a refugee for refugees. So it's very important that we bring refugees themselves in the procedure and work with them to create something for them, because they themselves are the one that know exactly what they want and know how they want that. So it's very important that we want to give a service to them, partner with them, and work with them, and trust them, truly. The third application is called IC. It's a very interesting application because you can hold this application in your hand and see and monitor the real-time images of Mediterranean Sea and spot the refugees' boat in the Mediterranean and report it to the Migrant Offshore Aid Station and ask them to send help. The application is designed by Grey Digital, an international digital advertising agency, and it got a lot of press attention, like Wired Magazine and CBS and Mashable. But the application, in fact, was fake. The information, the images that was on the application, it was a static Google satellite images. It was not real time. So when I saw this application, I got reminded of what Jawad said, that if I wanted to do something, I would do something to take rumors out, because wrong news has bad effect on my future also. This is just one example of the application, and somebody shows some picture. But imagine that there are some fake application about job listing or housing. Then the consequence is not just as a static photo. The consequence can be human trafficking and sex trafficking. So it's very important that what we design, we have to make sure that people, they can't abuse that to post the fake stuff on that and then trap the refugees in some very bad situation. The last application is called Howbaby. It's one of my favorite ones, which is designed by Empower Hack. They are global volunteer hacker groups. It's designed for women's reproductive health. It's very heartwarming that among like 200 applications that I looked into, some of them, at least maybe only, it cares about women's reproductive health and mental health, and also gender-based violence, which is very prevalent in refugee camps for women and all LGBTQ community. But it's heartbreaking to see that the number of downloads for this application is about 100 to 500. So this says something to us that what's wrong, that when this great application is available and it's specifically for women, and women obviously they need this help, why they don't use that? Then I think it's kind of like it might be because of the gender gap that we have in digital literacy. That based on UNHCR, there is 24% less ownership or usage of mobile by women than men. That is clearly a gender gap when we have a crisis that affects everybody equally. And also, I realized that there is not much attention to this kind of like application, and there is a lack of partnership on that too. So maybe the governments or the other INGOs, they don't give much attention to the issue of women reproductive health or gender-based violence or mental health for women, and they don't fund this kind of work. And also, another thing that I noticed is we have to know what kind of info, because I realized based on the survey that we had, some people, they are illiterate, but they still use the smartphone because they use voice and they use audio and video. So maybe the content that is available on this application is very text heavy, And people, they don't want to use that. If we ask refugees, and what kind of content do you like to see? Maybe they want to use audio or video, and because it's very text heavy, they don't use that. So these are just some examples that I wanted to share with you and the lessons that I learned from them. But we all know that applications haven't answered all of the questions. I realized that there are not much work or much kind of effective work on something like financial inclusion and livelihood. We know that MasterCard has done a very great work on giving prepaid debit card among refugees, but I myself have experienced that when I wanted to give a little amount of money to my refugee friend in Paris, who was in tent, he was there and just without food and stuff. It took me 4 days, and I involved 4 people just to give a little amount of money. So this shows how important is financial transferring is important, and financial services. That just little amount of money, it took me like 4 days and 4 people. It was just amazing. I know that the blockchain technology, and there are NGOs such as BitNation, they work on this kind of financial services and financial inclusion, but they have challenged with so many issues too. For example, lack of management, overdoing their work, lack of infrastructure. But it is worth to look at this financial inclusion, because it's not just about transferring money, it's also a way to create livelihood. Imagine that you can transfer money with a refugee in other country, then maybe they can start their own e-commerce business, or maybe they can start working as a freelancer, as a coder, or as a teacher, like a virtual teacher in the other countries, if they can actually send the money across the other countries. So you all are great people that you can work on the issues. I will leave that to you, but I want to close my talk with this amazing photo again, and I want to tell you, I myself, I am immigrant, and I know how hard it is to leave your homeland and come to the other country and set root in that. And I know that my experience comparing to the other refugees is zero. It's nothing. I do believe that technology has been an answer for so many issues, but I also believe that offline methods should go hand in hand with online method. As much as we care about innovative method, we have to care about conventional method and work with them and put them in line together to achieve what we actually want. I also want you, and want myself as well, not to look at the refugees as some people over the horizon. Work with them as our friends, as our partner, as our colleague, as our mentor, mentee, and give them the dignity and hope that they deserve. I try to do that with my simple, humble presentation involving JiaBin in that, and I hope we see a great initiative from you too. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward for your questions and comments, and if you have any experience of working with application that you want to share with me. Yes.
Just curious, in your research, did you look at Refugee Info?
On what?
Did you happen to see the Refugee Info app?
In BF app?
Refugee Info?
Refugee Info, yeah, it's from IRC.
MRC, yeah.
Yes. I noticed, and the time that I looked at that application, it was a web-based application, but currently they provided the mobile phone application. So if you have any information, or you know how they get all the news and put that application to circumvent the issue of the rumors and stuff, and if you want to share it with us, if you have more information about that.
Yeah, definitely. It's now an app. It was launched in September. It's an app. Available on Google Play and app store.
Great. Okay. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great presentation. For the statistics that you were showing that was based on the surveys that you had with JiaBin, would it be like maybe another way to collect this information by contacting the ICT corners or the camp managers and gathering this information from the ICT system? Because maybe, to my knowledge, there should be some reporting based on the equipment that is available in the camp that will tell you the applications, the bandwidth utilization. So I think that would be helpful for you in your research.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, for this one, because I want to involve him, I want to give him some work to do
Yeah.
as my research assistant, and I want to teach him how to do the interview and also survey and analyze the information and stuff. I try to do that, but for my thesis, actually, I'm trying to go to Greece and gather the information in a really better way and more comprehensive. So if you have any information that you can share with me, we can talk after.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Sure.
Obviously, if there's refugees in these camps all over that have technical know-how that are highly skilled, obviously, this may be a naive question, but why aren't organizations tapping that? Where's to help with their apps and with their technology? Why aren't their skills being tapped?
Why they don't do that
Yeah.
themselves?
Yeah, why aren't NGOs and more governments using them to help with reaching at refugees with applications and with suggestions for better content, perhaps?
Yes, I don't know, because I'm not an NGO person, so I would love to know that too. If anybody in the audience, they have experience.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think there's a big challenge related to what you highlighted to a certain extent in your presentation, and that's the extent to which refugees are actually reliably connected.
Right.
The availability of Wi-Fi in Greece at the large number of sites that's there, you provided, is fairly unique. Most countries
Yeah.
where refugees are located, there aren't any equivalent kinds of efforts at the scale that it's been done in Greece. In many instances, the quality of the network is very weak. The price of the device is very expensive for a person to have a smartphone. In many cases, the network isn't good enough, so they may only have a feature phone. There's huge potential if you get that kind of threshold level of connectivity so that people can take advantage of it. But if the connectivity isn't there, it doesn't matter whether you've got apps or not if they can't reach the internet. So I think that's a huge challenge as well.
Just another challenge that presents itself is that most refugees are actually they're not in formal camp settlements, so they're in informal settlements or urban, so they're harder to reach, they're just harder to get to locate, to provide services to. So we're just constantly, I know IRC and one of our partner organizations constantly looking for ways to kind of just improve our methods of reaching them. So that's just another challenge.
Yeah, in Greece itself, I noticed that some of refugees, they are in stadiums, or some of them, they start their own tent. There are places that they are not officially managed by UNHCR or the other government agencies.
I think it'd be really cool as you do more of these surveys and formalize them to use some of the survey apps that are out there.
Yeah.
I think it'd be, as you're talking about Jawad and training him, if he learned how to use ComCare, or if he learned how to use that sort of thing.
Great idea.
And then you can also deploy it widely if you wanted to replicate this survey in other camps.
That's a great
I think that'd be
idea.
really cool.
That's a
Yeah.
great idea. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you.